This is Kim Sang-yeon, the best. Anti-communist movement is patriotic. However, in South Korea, the government arrests anyone who engages in anti-communist activity. An arrest warrant has been requested for Pastor Boy Bo. Pastor Boy Bo recently had a trial to review the warrant, and we understand he is currently in detention. It is expected that an announcement will be made this evening whether the arrest warrant will be dismissed. Pastor Boy Bo held a talk show with a conservative candidate for Superintendent of Education at a church before the Busan Superintendent of Education election. The Election Commission has filed a complaint against Pastor Boy Bo for violating election law. The police, upon receiving the complaint from the National Election Commission, conducted a search and seizure of Pastor Boy Bo's home and church. Search and seizure are conducted only in cases of serious crimes or those at risk of destroying evidence or fleeing. The talk show video, which serves as evidence in this case, is still available on the church's YouTube channel. This is the only evidence, and the pastor has never destroyed it, yet the video remains publicly available. As if that weren't enough, the prosecution has applied to the court for an arrest warrant to detain Pastor Bo. Detention means holding someone in custody while conducting an investigation. Detention is typically reserved for those who pose a risk of destroying evidence or fleeing in connection with serious crimes. The prosecution is attempting to detain a pastor who preaches at church every week and has a clear residence. Why would the prosecution interpret a pastor who has no hidden agenda and is openly active as fleeing or destroying evidence? This is clearly illegal. Recently, an arrest warrant for an attempted crime involving 6 children was rejected. These people are still committing serious crimes, such as kidnapping children, and they are roaming the streets, making citizens anxious. They are threatening to arrest Pastor Boy Bo. The crucial point about this issue is that Pastor Boy Bo is a leading anti-communist activist. I am also an anti-communist activist. South Korea is an anti-communist country. South Korea is a free democratic country. The South Korean government, military, prosecution, police, and other public institutions should catch communists and reward anti-communist citizens. We should support them. However, the current Lee Jae-myung administration is arresting people who oppose communism. The South Korean government is a country that must oppose communism based on the constitution. The South Korean government is a country that must investigate and arrest communists. This is called a counter-communist investigation. Catching communists is called a counter-communist investigation. I was discharged from the army 23 years ago. During military training, we wear something called a military identification badge. It clearly says, "Defeat communism." There's one value I learned in the military and still haven't forgotten, that our main enemy is North Korea. However, Moon Jae-in removed the line, "North Korea is our military's main enemy," from the National Defense White Paper. President Yoon Suk-yeol then reinstated it. While President Yoon Suk-yeol, who opposes communism, says our main enemy is North Korea, he's in prison. They're trying to imprison Pastor Bo, who opposes communism, again. The Lee Jae-myung administration and the Democratic Party are arresting, not rewarding, everyone who participates in the anti-communist movement. Recently, I've received several emails threatening to kill my young children, ages 4, 6, and 7. I reported it to the police, and the police also confirmed that this was a case of intimidation against my child. I heard the results of the investigation after work. The email address was an ID created in China. I received threats for two reasons. First, because I opposed communism. Second, because I reported on election fraud involving Chinese interference. Currently, South Korea has become a country where anyone who opposes communism is subject to intimidation and arrest by the government. It has become a country where anyone who opposes communism is labeled a traitor. I tried to report these threats to the National Intelligence Service, NIS, but the director of the NIS cannot say that North Korea is the main enemy, so I couldn't. South Korean citizens must be anti-communists. This is not a matter of choice. The South Korean government must educate, encourage, and reward its citizens for anti-communism. And citizens have the right to question elections. But now, the current South Korean government has become a country that arrests anyone who speaks against communism and anyone who speaks about the fairness of elections. Pastor Boy Bo says he would rather go to jail so that the people know how communist our country has become. My fellow citizens, we must rise up, raise awareness, and resist. The Constitution of the Republic of Korea defines communists as instigators of rebellion. To all citizens who love the Republic of Korea, communists in China, North Korea, and within the Republic of Korea are destroying the Republic of Korea. We must protect those who oppose communism and love our country, like President Yoon Seong-yeol and Pastor Boy Bo. And we must punish those who collaborate with the Chinese and North Korean communists. Until then, we must fight. This is a war of words. We must speak. The media is completely blocked. We must gather in rallies. We must be visible in large numbers. And we must spread the word by marching. We must spread the word by banners. We need to spread the word online. When that number increases, our country will be able to recover. That's all.